Hey guys, welcome back to the Hez Project. I'm John Ortolaza, and we're going to be talking about the brand new Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales for PlayStation 5. Now I know I'm a little late to the party. It took me a while to beat the game. I honestly took a little break from the game because I had a lot of other stuff to do. I work a full-time job. I also had two other games I can play, like, Godfall and Cold War. Look, there's not a lot of great reasons, but nonetheless, the review is better than none. Marvel's Spider-Man Miles Morales is a continuation of the 2018's Marvel Spider-Man that Insomniac brought to us on the PlayStation 4. I adore that video game, and I knew going into this one it was going to be a little bit similar, a little bit familiar, because dude, it hasn't even been that long since the first game. It's been 2 years. I really didn't see that there was going to be a crazy amount of changes in this one. The skepticism in my head was thinking, look, dude, this is going to be a really dope reskin of the first game. It's fine. Don't get your hopes up too much. And going into the game like that, I think it worked out a little bit better. If you think this is going to be leaps and bounds better than the first game, I don't think you're going to be very satisfied. But if you go in this mindset that it's going to be shot for shot the same, just with a dark-skinned Spider-Man with a dark suit, yeah, then I think you'll be a little bit more pleased than that. This game was really good. I enjoyed it. It was really fun to play as Miles Morales. I love that character. I fell in love with that character since the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie, of course. I think all of us fell in love with that character when that movie dropped, but I love that character. I cannot express enough how refreshing it is to see Miles Morales' personality be shown when he walks in the streets of New York, when he swings. Just the way this man swings through the streets of New York, how wild and wacky he can be, how just free he is in the air is just so awesome. I love doing all the flip tricks as him. It's so cool. It's really freaking fun. It's one thing to be a superhero like Spider-Man, but Miles Morales is not just African American, but he's Puerto Rican, and I think that's really cool because I'm Puerto Rican myself. I take pride in that, and I really appreciate how they took the time, the developers of Insomniac, they took the time to illustrate and really show this cultural experience for Miles Morales. They really brought out a flavor from him that you really don't get with Peter Parker because he's a white guy and he's a nerd. So like that's pretty much covered, yeah. But I just really enjoy, the very unique and stylistic music that we get in here with the beats and just lovely Spanish music that I grew up listening to. I just love all of it. I love the culture that's brought into this game. It's just really refreshing and it's just unique. Like that's the biggest thing that this game has going for it. It really depicts and separates Miles Morales from Peter Parker. They are two very different people, but they're also Spider-Man. They're both Spider-Man, and it's just awesome. He's got his mom, who's the Puerto Rican on his side, and she's just a lovely person. Very lovely. Talks to him in Spanish and whatnot. It's very reminiscent of my childhood. So I adored that side of Miles, and it was just really fun to play as him. Now, the gameplay is exactly what my skepticism was. It was going to be a reskin, only with some tweaks, which were welcoming tweaks. He's got this Venom punch, which is like super like orange electricity whenever he wants to punch something, and it's used to power generators and whatnot, and just take out the big heavies. Like it comes in handy, but if I'm being honest, I don't care for it. I don't care for Miles' abilities, I guess, they gotta find a way to really differentiate the two. So let's give this guy a little bit more powers. Like, let's give him a Venom punch. Let's make him do a cloaking mechanism, where he turns invisible. Like, I can do without that stuff, but, I mean, I guess it's cool. Yeah. It's just not my thing. I prefer a more grounded Spider-Man, and that's what Peter Parker is. So I guess it's okay if Miles can be that. Where I think this game really falls flat is the storyline and the fact that the story is only 12 hours long. I think less than that. Yeah, if you're doing side quests and stuff, you can probably elongate that experience, but I beat the game. Like, I did maybe one mission here and there in the last day, because I do mornings and nights at home, and then I'm working during the day. So I was able to beat it fairly quickly, I think. Like, I spent a lot of time in the normal Spider-Man game. I did. And yeah, I was very disappointed with the lack of story. It wasn't just about Peter Parker fighting the Sinister Six. It was more to that. It was more with his relationships with MJ, his relationship with Black Cat a little bit, and his relationship with Doc Ock. Like, there were so many spinning wheels going on in the original Spider-Man game that it made it for a more fulfilling experience. It felt like a 15 plus hour movie of Spider-Man. That's why I can honestly put up that story of the Spider-Man game up against any of the Marvel movies, any of the Spider-Man movies specifically. And yeah, I think it holds up against those stories. Where this Miles Morales game falls, though, is its lack of a villain, I guess. You got the Roxxon guy, the blonde guy played by Troy Baker, which I didn't know until a couple days ago. That's freaking awesome. I love Troy Baker. He can disguise himself like crazy in these video games. It's uncanny. But yeah, you got his character, the Tinkerer, which, yeah, I don't know. I didn't care for the Tinkerer. I expected a little more out of Shocker, in my opinion. Shocker is in this game, and I expected a little more out of him. I really enjoyed his arc, his little arc in the Into the Spider-Verse movie, and I was looking forward to seeing a little bit of that replicated. Not exactly copied, but just a little bit replicated. And to an extent, but he kind of just comes off as the character Azrael from the Arkham games, like how he's just there. He kind of comes off like that to me, except he's a little more talkative, He's not super mysterious or anything, but his relevancy is about that of Azrael in the Arkham games. I think in the game's final moments, in that final mission, it really hit home. Just the cinematics, the way that Miles was saving the day, and just all the effort that he put into it, it just really hyped me up in that last mission. So it was the icing on the not so great cake, but yeah, it was still a fun ride. Where I think this game really shines is the graphics, of course. It isn't the biggest leap from the Spider-Man from 2018, but it's really good. For a PS5 launch title, I think it was really freaking good. It lets you play at the 30 frames per second that every game is known for, but it also introduced a 60 frames per second mode. I think it's called Performance Mode, and this one, it is really cool to see 60 frames. It is really nice. It's buttery smooth and all that, but there's some new features that they implemented into the 30 frames per second that they didn't for the 60 frames, like ray tracing and just some other details that I've noticed through other people's videos. And that's not the biggest deal for me. Nonetheless, guys, that was my review for Spider-Man Miles Morales. I know there wasn't a whole lot to talk about. Again, it's a very short game, very reminiscent to the first game, like I expected. It's not a letdown for me. The story is just a little weak, in my opinion. It didn't hit home nearly as hard as the first game, but that's just my opinion. Let me know down below in the comment section, what did you think of Spider-Man Miles Morales? Did you play Spider-Man Miles Morales? I think you should. It's a really awesome game. It's really touching. I love the cinematics and everything. Miles Morales and his mother, they're so cute. Anyways, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and be sure to stick around because there's always more to come.